Well, what's up, fanbase? It's your boy Blaze Hollow coming at you again with another What If. This time I'll bring you What If Blaze had the power of unlimited blade work part 2. Before we get into all that, I do want to bring up a couple of announcements, which is I'm very sorry for being gone for very long. I had to do a big test for school, and studying for it was a massive pain. Second thing that I have to tell all of you is that I will be bringing back What If Deku had the power of all for one, because I know that all of you have been continuing to ask me for it. But the only reason that I continue to do this story is because I had part 2 script already planned out before that I was going to do the next part. Thing I have to tell you is that I also have a new intro that was made by my buddy Majin, so please start that intro and show it off.
Your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me.
I wanted to let you all know that there will not be a recap. If you want to know what happened in the previous part, please go check out part 1. It is in the description below. All that said, let's finally begin the story. After Blaze finishes his conversation with his mother, he heads off to the Ryujin Jaka exhibit. But when he finally walks in, he is overwhelmed by the exhibit, seeing a bunch of different wax figures of the previous user of Ryujin Jaka holding the blade out in different sword stances. Eyes wandered the room, he noticed that there were so many different forms of commemoration of this person as he looked upon a burnt-up kimono that had the kanji for number 1 on his back. Blaze thought about it. He thought that he saw a similar outfit on someone earlier today that had the kanji for the number 10 on it. Seen this somewhere before. It seemed so familiar yet so foreign at the same time. As he was thinking about it, a bunch of things flashed throughout his mind as he remembered Toshiro Hitsugaya, who had the kanji for number 10 on his back, with the same white kimono. I wonder what's the meaning of all this. It shows that there is a gap in our history that doesn't reveal about these two being able to work together, or that there were multiple people who had this kanji mark. While Blaze is lost in thought about all of this, a mysterious figure walks up behind him, giggling in excitement. I had a feeling I would find you here, Blaze. Blaze turns around, not expecting to see who actually was there. I never thought that you would actually leave the lawless zone, Toga. Toga just hands Blaze a piece of paper as she smiles at him. And because I knew that you would want me to give you a recon report as soon as possible, or are you just not interested in becoming a relic hunter anymore? Grabs onto the piece of paper, excited to see what was on it, as his eyes just lit up with happiness. My God, I can't believe how many relics are starting to show up around Heaven's Arena. This is perfect. It's time for me to make my way back to the lawless zone. Togo was getting all excited watching Blaze as he was just talking about going back to the lawless zone as she noticed that someone was watching them as she turned her head a little bit. Keep your voice down, we're being watched. Blaze stopped what he was doing as he closed his eyes and started listening to the breathing in the room as he was able to pinpoint where the spy was and then vanish right behind them. Didn't anyone ever teach you that it wasn't polite to eavesdrop on other people's conversation? The person then jumped out from behind the corner, revealing herself to be Shoto Todoroki, who was mesmerized by Blaze's speed. Trust me, I mean you no harm. I'm just going off of what you told me earlier. That is, if I ran into you again, I could ask you more questions. Blaze just smiled as he laughed a little bit as he came out of the shadow of the corner. She's no threat to either of us, Toga. Toga just looked at Shoto, very confused about why she was here. Oh, is this your girlfriend? I didn't mean to make it sound like it was something bad or anything if it's just her. Shoto just starts blushing as she hears Toga's statement. Not dating, we only met under very bad circumstances. I only came here because I wanted to ask him a few more questions. Toga gets very excited as she starts skipping over to Shoto as she just stops right in front of her and then walking around as she just looks her up and down. Makes you think that you can just walk in here and ask whatever question you want. Blaze then grabs onto Toga and then puts some space in between the both of them. Because that's what I told her to do, but I didn't think that she was going to take me serious because I was pointing a sword at her. Blaze then just leaned up against the back wall as he looked over the piece of paper that Toga gave him. Shoto then thought long and hard about what her first question should be because she didn't know how many questions she was going to get. Please tell me how it is that you're able to draw upon power that doesn't seem to be your own. Blaze looked at Shoto, not knowing how to answer her question, or not really wanting to, as he put the paper down beside him. That's a very difficult question for me to answer, but the best way for me to tell you is that I have the ability to bring back any relic to its prime as long as I've seen it and copy it, but I have to make sure that I learn it from the basics. Shoto was completely surprised by his answer, not even hesitating for a second to tell her everything. Earlier, when you told me that you could use the power of ice, were you just telling me that because you actually had a relic that could do that, or were you just bluffing with me? Blaze then pointed his finger at a wax figure that caused both of the girls to turn around as they noticed that it was a giant ice dragon wrapped around a broken sword that looked like its handle was completely torn apart and the scabbard was completely broken and cracked. That is the original Yurimaru. As you can see, that is completely broken, no longer to be able to use in battle, but the one that I wield is a complete copy of it in its prime, using its true strength. Both girls just stood there in surprise, realizing that the original blade is actually in a museum, wondering that that broken blade actually held all that power at one time. Toga just smiled as she acted like she was going to grab it. Wonder if I grabbed the original blade, I'd be able to use the same amount of power you did earlier. Just walked over to Toga and just grabbed her wrist. First off, you know the rule about not touching any of the artifacts in the museum. And secondly, even if you could touch the original blade, it's broken beyond repair. As soon as you try to use it, it would just shatter into a million pieces. Toga just smiles as she pulls her arm back. You knew I was only kidding. I'm not interested in some kind of broken down sword. The only thing that I'm looking for on this relic hunt is the true knives of Jack the Ripper. Shoto took a step back, wondering why the blonde girl wanted those knives. Why would you want the weapon of a serial killer? Toga just got a huge smile as she just started blushing and putting both of her hands on her cheeks. Because I'm a major fan of his. I loved his work because we don't actually know what he was capable of. There are so many different stories that could tell us many different answers. So I'm hoping when we find the artifact that Blaze will be able to give me the answers to all my questions, along with teaching me on how to use them. Shoto was very confused about that statement as she looked over at Blaze, wondering what he knows. What is she talking about? How would you being there get her the answers that she's looking for? Blaze just smiled right at Shoto. Easy, thanks to my power, as soon as I come in contact with any artifact, I can actually live throughout that person's life and actually get glimpses and pieces of their history, so I can just use that to give her the information that she wants. But I have to be able to come in contact with the spirit and train with the weapon. The more that I know about it, the more that I'm able to tell. Shoto was actually mesmerized hearing this, thinking that she actually might have a chance to get something about her own history. So what you're telling me is if I was to bring an artifact to you right now, or any time at all, you could tell me about that original person's life and how they wielded that weapon, right? Blaze got curious on what she was going on about and was almost hesitant about telling her the true answer. Yeah, but I bet you don't actually need anything like that from me at any time soon. Shoto was just so happy that she was almost about to jump out of her skin from joy as she grabbed onto Blaze's arm. I actually do need your help. My family has an artifact that's been hidden within our house. My father tells me that because of it, our flames have been cursed. Because he believed that it dealt with some kind of dark magic, but I feel like if I brought you there and you got to see what the artifact did, you could tell us about the original wielder, and maybe we could actually not be cursed at all. Blaze got a serious look on his face as he started to think through all the history research that he's done on what kind of flame artifact could cause people to think that they're cursed, but also be passed down throughout the generation. It's a very interesting circumstance that you brought to my attention. If you were able to bring it here to the museum, I would not mind looking at the artifact and having an appointment set up. But after today, I will be leaving for a very long business trip, which will be about 10 months, so I can get ready for the UA entrance exam. Shoto actually let go of Blaze, feeling a little bit shattered about having to wait 10 months to get her answers. Wait, isn't there anything I can do to get you to come to my place and check out the artifact even sooner? Don't you think maybe it's because you're so into history that you should be obligated to come check this out right now? Blaze took a few steps backwards as he turned his back to Shoto. Usually you're right and I would go running to these kind of things, but since it's something that's not going anywhere anytime soon, like an ancient temple or some kind of mythological dig, I don't have to go rushing for it, and I have to be able to make a profit. You see, I can't rely on my family taking care of me forever, so if you want my services, you have to speak through a museum and they'll be able to set up some kind of fee along with your appointment to help you. Toga was a little bit dumbfounded, realizing that he actually never does this kind of stuff, but when she looked right at his face, it said it all. The reason why you don't want to go rushing over there is because you're more interested in the artifacts on the list that I found you, and because she doesn't know what she actually has, so you're afraid that you might end up wasting your time on a wild goose chase. Blaze just folded his arms as he looked over at Toga. Now, did you really have to say that? I was trying to be polite and not sound like a jerk. As they were all talking, they started to hear someone laughing from behind the corner. When they all turned their heads, they saw saw that it was Blaze's mother, with a big smile on her face as she finally walked up to the group completely. You truly are cruel, Blaze. This young lady is trying to get your help, but you're so caught up in your own ambitions that you can't see a desperate cry for help. Is that what a real hero would do? She then put her hands on Shoto's shoulder and whispered something into her ear. Shoto then started to cry as she covered her face with her hands. So you're just going to leave me here to deal with this curse all by myself, and I thought you were my hero. Blaze gets a sweat on his forehead as he turns back to look at her. Hey now, it's not like that. It's just that I have a very busy schedule and a very limited amount of time. Blaze's mother just looks very disappointed by that response. Are you really going to turn down a crying woman? Blaze turned to look over at Toga. Can you please help me with the situation? I don't feel like it's fair that I'm getting tag teamed and guilt tripped over here. Toga just tilts her head in confusion about all this. I'm actually a little bit surprised about all this, that you don't really want to rush to help her. What happened to you wanting to leave behind the greatest hero legacy of mankind? Blaze just hung his head there, feeling very defeated by all of them. Okay, now I just feel very betrayed. I was hoping that you were actually going to say something in my favor, not turn it against me. Blaze then turned back to looking at both his mother along with Shoto. Fine, I'll help you, but there's something I need to do first. Shoto just stopped crying as she smiled at Blaze. Your mother was right, you really do fall for fake tears, easily, but I'm really appreciating that you're wanting to help me now. Blaze's mother just started giggling, trying to hold back her massive laughter. You truly are a hopeless case, Blaze, but it just shows that you have a heart of gold. Blaze feels upon hearing these words like he was hit in the head with a bag of rocks, but he then just walks right past Shoto and his mother, finally getting to his destination, standing upon the great charcoal-like blade that was once wielded by a great flame user. So we finally meet face to face, Ryujin Jaka. Blaze then places his eyes upon the charcoal-like blade, analyzing it, but for a second he actually starts to blink as the whole room turns pitch black. As he stares off into the darkness, he notices a very small flame standing right before him, as it turns into a massive inferno, taking all the oxygen out of the room that he's in, and he just starts to fall to his knees, trying to breathe as hard as he could. You dare step into my spiritual domain, youngling. You must really not know your place upon this world. This voice was shouting from within the flames, trying to get Blaze to go away. Blaze hesitated to speak, trying to get air back into his lungs, but he knew if he stayed quiet, he might lose the chance to contract with the spirit. I understand that you're upset that I woke you from your slumber, but I feel like letting your power lay here dormant within this museum would be a waste, allowing it to fade into history. So please, let me just prove myself so I can wield your power, even if it means I have to start from zero with all my other weapons. The spirit allowed the flames to calm down, giving oxygen back to the area. So if I asked for your dominant arm in exchange to be able to wield my massive power, would you give it to me? Blaze had a little bit of sweat drop from his forehead as he looked over at his dominant arm for a second, but then just held it out for the spirit to take. If I have to sacrifice an arm to be able to reach my goal, I'll happily give it to you. The flames started to then gather around Blaze's dominant arm, but before it could be completely burned off, Blaze blinks one more time, returning to the real world, seeing that the only thing that was different is that he was holding the prime blade of Ryujin Jaka in his hand. While noticing that he still had his dominant arm, Blaze then dropped to his knees, breathing so heavily that it almost seemed like the oxygen was still leaving his lungs, while thinking to himself that he really put a big gamble on this, thinking that he actually could have lost his arm if the spirit wasn't generous. Toga then ran forward, trying to help Blaze back onto his feet. It truly doesn't get easier to watch you do this process, as you freeze up and then when you finally snap out of it, you look like hell. Shoto just stood there looking very confused about the situation. What just happened? All he did was look at the blade, and now there's a new version in his hand, but because of it, it looks like he's knocking on the door of hell itself. Blaze's mother just smiled as she just looked at the process and the new form of Ryujin Jaka in its prime, as she then just puts her hands right on Shoto's shoulders. This is a part of my son's power. He has to make connection with the spirit within each weapon that he comes across to be able to make a contract with them. But this process is very dangerous, which could cause him to be rejected by the spirit or end up very injured in the process. Shoto just looked up at her, very concerned. But why does he continue to do this to himself? He already has so many powerful blades. Why does he need this one? Blaze stood up as he put his hand on Toga's shoulder so he could be able to properly stand on his own. The reason why I do this to myself is because I want to gather all the weapons from history to be able to master them in my own way so I can truly surpass all the heroic spirits from the past and start making my my own legacy. Shoto started to now feel very hesitant about showing Blaze the artifact that her family's been keeping secret for generations. So does that mean when I show you my family's artifact, you're going to try to do the same process that you did here, right? Blaze takes a deep breath, realizing that she probably doesn't want to show him the artifact anymore. It's true that I probably would try to copy your family's artifact, but if you refuse to show it to me now, I cannot help you and give you the answers that you're looking for, and I will just go on my journey to the lawless zone and leave all of this behind. Toga then playfully pushes Blaze right off of her. Stand on your own feet, and while I'm at it, maybe I should start getting in contact with the others so they can get ready by the gate. Blaze nods as he takes a few steps ahead of her and then just makes some hand signs behind his back, telling her to go on ahead and get everything ready. So, are we going to your place, Shoto, so I can actually convince your family that your flames aren't cursed, or do you actually just want to deal with this situation all by yourself and never have this chance ever again? Before anything else could be said, Toga jumped in the middle of the entire conversation with a smile on her face. I'm going to be heading out. I'll meet you in the lawless zone later, Blaze, as she just runs off in excitement. Shoto took a minute and debated the pros and cons of all this, but then realized the true goal of actually wanting to ask this question in the first place, wanting to know the truth about her family. Yes, please come with me to my home so I can finally show my family that we're not cursed. Blaze then just walks right up to Shoto and gives her a very serious look in the eye. Let me just ask you this out of my own curiosity. What are you going to do if you find out that your flames are cursed? Shoto felt a little bit offended by that statement as she just stepped back from Blaze a little bit. If our flames are cursed, I want to either break it or try to turn it into our own advantage. Blaze felt satisfied by this answer as he just followed her out of the museum and navigated there to Shoto's house, but as soon as they arrived, they were about to open the front door, but it turned out to open on its own, revealing Endeavor standing in the door frame, who seemed to be angry seeing his little girl with some random guy right in front of their house. Shoto, you're late to coming home, and now you just show up with some kind of mystery boy? Don't think that you're going to not get in trouble for this. Shoto was just annoyed seeing that her father was completely misreading the situation. It's not what you think, Dad. It's just that he works for the museum, and I brought him here because I wanted him to come look at our family's artifacts so we can finally figure out if we're cursed or not. Aren't you curious? Don't you finally want to know the answer to all this? Endeavor raised an eyebrow hearing about this, because as he looks the boy up and down, he doesn't look to be that much older than his own daughter. What really makes you think that he's able to do such a thing, Shoto? He doesn't look like he has that much experience with artifacts at all for his age. Shoto took a deep breath, realizing what she was about to explain to her father was going to sound very crazy. It's because he has the power to actually speak to the past and the spirits that are within the weapons or artifacts that he comes across. So please, just let him see it so he can show you himself. Endeavor just started laughing, thinking that that was the worst lie that his daughter could ever tell him. Listen, Shoto, if you're going to try to lie to get out of getting in trouble, at least come up with something clever. This boy looks like he's only 15 and has no experience out in the field. So even if he did work for the museum, he probably just spit shines everything, or just make sure nothing gets covered in too much dust. Blaze actually stepped forward, feeling majorly offended by that comment. Actually, for your information, my family owns a museum, and I'm 49% of the reason why we have the artifacts in the museum that you see today. I've actually stepped outside the walls of our borders to go get these artifacts from the lawless zone and fought for my life, so don't actually assume that you know what I've been through, sir. Endeavor was actually very surprised to hear what he just heard, because he could tell by looking in the boy's eyes that he wasn't lying, as he motioned actually for them all to come inside. I'm only allowing you to look at it, nothing else, because I do not trust you, so do not touch anything or do anything that will make me want to hurt you. They then go inside as Endeavor locks the front door, checking all the hallways, making sure that no one was there watching them. He then presses a secret button on the wall that reveals a trapdoor at the bottom of the steps. As the three of them travel down below the ground, going for at least a mile, they come across a sealed up door that had many paper tags all over it with strange markings as Endeavor pulls out a key from his back pocket, unlocking the door, releasing a menacing dark aura. As soon as this aura hit Blaze, he was actually overcome with so much joy that he almost wanted to jump out of his own skin and do a little dance. When Endeavor turned away from the door to look at Blaze, he just saw him have that signature grin on his face like he was so happy, which creeped him out for a little bit. Why are you smiling? It's kind of creepy for our situation right now. Blaze just started laughing because he was just so happy as he started to step forward a little bit. I can't believe that it's been in this part of the world the entire time, a flame that was known by the demonic realm, one that was on my wish list since I started my career, on my top 10 hopes to find. The arm of the darkness flame is standing right here in front of me, and all I have to do now is step through that door frame. Both of you may not understand, but what's in that room is known as the Dragon dragon of the darkness flame, one of the demonic dragons that was known to be as powerful to turn anything into ash. Shoto's eyes looked very disappointed hearing these few words, realizing that her family actually could be cursed. So they really are demonic flames, so we are a cursed family after all. Blaze stepped forward some more as he pushed Endeavor out of the way. I can't really say that I know everything, but once I get in contact with the spirit within this room, I can tell you everything that you want to know. He then steps within the door frame, but as soon as he does that, he is sucked right into the room and the door shuts right behind him, locking itself. Endeavor and Shoto both start to panic as they start pounding on the door trying to get it to open. Blaze just stands there within the darkness, not understanding what was going on as he started to hear a dragon-like screech within the room. As a flame appeared within the room around a dismembered arm that had a black-like marking around it that looked like a dragon, as a spirit of a child that looked like he was no older than 12, wearing a black cloak and a white headband on his forehead, appeared right in front of Blaze. This figure then just looked at Blaze, looking very disappointed. I'm actually quite sad that none of my family was able to step into this room, but usually the dragon just turns them all away, but as soon as you step through that doorframe, it welcomed you in with open arms, so who exactly are you? Blaze was trying his best not to freak out because within the corner of his eye he could actually see the demonic dragon creeping up behind him, ready to bite into him if he tried to do something stupid. My name is Blaze Hollow. Who are you? The figure then just chuckled out of amusement watching Blaze squirm. My name is Hiei, the first and only person to master the dragon of the darkness flame. I am also a demon who came to the human world, so I must ask you, why do you seek my power? Blaze smiled as he stepped forward, wanting to see what would happen, as the dragon of the darkness flame actually creeped up closer, telling him not to move. Actually, I didn't know you were down here. It was a major bonus when I figured that out. I'm also not going to try to convince you to give me your power because I know you're not going to give it to someone who's not a part of your family. But if you're willing to at least bargain or put me through some kind of test to see that I'm worthy, I'd be happy to try it out. EA thinks about it for a second as he calls the dragon right back into the arm. I want you to give the arm to Shoto and tell her that she gets to pick who gets to use my power. When the time is right, if you agree to this, I will at least give you a chance to maybe get a hold of my power, but if you try to go against this, the dragon of the darkness flame will consume you. Blaze was very amused, actually never dealing with a situation like this, and wanted to actually have a special chance to get a hold of the dragon of the darkness flame. That's fine, I agree to your terms. But that's where I'm going to leave it off this time, guys. Make sure to leave a comment down below and tell me how you feel about this story. I will also let you all know that the next story that will be coming out, What If Deku actually had All for One, will be coming out soon. Actually, maybe not that soon, just depends on how my upload schedule goes. But with all that said, I'm out. Peace.